You're listening to the voices of the Occultinarium. Keep your friends close and your diamonds closer. Welcome. Welcome to tonight's episode of the Occultinarium. We're the voices of the Occultinarium and your hosts are
Luigi,
Emily,
and Lynn. And tonight we shall jump into next tarot card. So we just got into the next decan of the Wheel of the Year. We are now in the era, as to call it, of Leo. First decan of Leo. So tonight's cards, yes, tonight's. Oh my God, this is on air, so people will hear forever. Anyway. Rightfully so, we are in the 5 of Wands. So I am bringing up the Smith version here and then the Thoth version on the other side.
let me do the Golden Dawn version there.
Yeah, do you have the Hermetic as well with you? So if you
Yeah.
want, you can bring up both. And then the Hermetic and the Golden Dawn. We said this shortly in our last episode with the last decan of Cancer, that this decan in some traditions depicts the start of the year. So for our usual traditions, our Hellenistic traditions, it's all usually starts with Aries, but as Luigi pointed out, in Egypt, the rising of the Nile would usually be around this time of year, and that would start off the fertility and the life of the year in Egypt. Last time I think we talked about the Hermetic and the Golden Dawn first, because why not? Because we know least about these, I guess, or because they're a little less traditional. Although that's not right, because they're more traditional in a sense, right? That's the ones.
I was about
I guess
to
they're
say,
they're not very commercially popular. No, who am I to say that? But you know what I mean. Like in mainstream, Thoth,
Yes.
Smith tend to be pushed. Like, oh, look what I'm using, and these two tend to be more for the geeks amongst us, including ourselves.
Yes, you put that very eloquently. It's what I tried to find. I didn't find the word. Geeks. Works. Yes. Well, I do not have the Golden Dawn one out, but do you wanna put yours up again, Emily? Right. So we have two green hands. Oh, this is interesting. I have some stuff to say. I think that's something just recently read. Green hands and holding 5 wands on a very dark red background. The wands are red and the tips of the wands are yellow. And then we see Saturn and we see the Leo sign and, well, the fire element and strife, Lord of Strife. Very fascinating. I see that because I just recently come across this imagery of an alchemist, imagery of green lion eating the sun, as fittingly for Leo and the sun and all that. And in that thing that I read, alchemically speaking, green was used as a color of things that are unripe. I only know, I don't know very much about it, but it's just that kind of triggered when I saw the very green hands, whatever that might mean. Yeah.
The green lion representing nature untamed.
And then ingesting the sun to, transform it. Yeah.
There's supposed to be hands of angel hands, apparently. So what kind of angel is this? Like the Grinch?
Very green. Is that copper turns green, right? With age, isn't that copper when it rains on?
Yeah, it does.
It's like a copper, a copper angel.
It does actually, yeah. So the background is supposed to be orange, as in the mix of the red and yellow.
Yeah,
but I guess it's difficult to see as well because it's just extremely orange.
Yeah, I do love how bright and colorful these cards are, as opposed to the Hermetic, where we're just having black and white, and then grisly images of like lions and the stuff, and there's a lot going on in these Hermetic ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the symbol. I think it's a symbol for the North Node in the circle in the center, where you got like this the glyph of Saturn as well.
Yes, isn't it? That's true. Because at first I thought it was lion, because maybe it's also just the way that this designer depicts the lion, because it looks like the North Node, doesn't it? Because it's here and here, but it should be the lion.
One lion is angry, the other one is drunk. That's what I see.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, it looks like the North Node, but I suppose it's supposed to be the lion, no? Because we have the lion, which this should also be lion symbol. So I do not know.
I remember coming across a content creator recently. There's something to do with the similarities. I need to look up what the content creator's name was so we can maybe credit them. But basically, there was a similarity in the symbolism of the lion and the symbolism of the snake. And in fact, we know that in the system that we use for the tarot, the strength card, the Leo card, the lion's card has the Hebrew letter Tet, which is attached to the symbol of the serpent as well, interestingly enough, as well as the glyph of Leo representing somewhat of a serpent in itself. Oh yeah, and even if you look at the top card with the lust, like the tail of the creature, you can call the creature a lion if you will, but the tail of the tail of the creature also being a version of a serpent.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I suppose when it comes to the symbolism of the lion and the serpent and the correlation of it, by extension, we need to look into the symbolism of the dragon, because the North Node, in a way, can represent the dragon's head versus the dragon's tail. So possibly we can look into it and maybe add the notes as needed as we explore the Six of Wands and the Seven of Wands, because it still will be Leo season. But yeah, it will be interesting to look into the North Node correlation of the Five of Wands.
Right. This is the second fire sign. If you're starting with our tradition, we're starting with Aries, right? And in Aries, it's all about trying to establish the self. So we're having the rulership with Mars and having like this energy of like finding out who you are. With Leo, we already have like an established self, and the rulers of this decan actually are the Sun and Saturn in the two different orders. And the interesting thing is that we have the same rulers for two other placements, decanic placements. And that is the last decan of Sagittarius and the last decan of Gemini. So the 10 of Swords, which we already covered, and the 10 of Wands share the same rulers as the 5 of Wands. So we can discuss this as we go along, because I feel there's something to unpack there. But yeah, for now, let's just say the descending order is Saturn ruled, and the triplicity order is Sun ruled. And for what I know about the traditional decanic images is that neither of the tarot cards follow any of the traditional images for this decan. So it's very different. So there's this idea of the 5 of Wands, like the strife. There's this idea of, you see it, I mean, best in the Smith version, I guess. You have many different forces that all try to compete for the same thing. It's kind of like Luigi, you know, like actors trying out for the same role. They're all there for the same thing, but they're all kind of competitors, and none of them work towards the same. Like they're not working together for the same goal. They're all kind of doing their own thing, and so nothing gets done in a constructive way. I've heard that Smith was inspired to draw this by having friends over that were supposed to put up her rose trellis in her garden, and they were all just doing something else with the trellis and nobody was coordinating, and then it looked more like people going to battle than actually them putting up rose trellis. That's what I've heard about this. And
it's very Leo though, right?
It is quite Leo, yes. It's like
because you want to... Yeah, I know better. I know better. So I'm just going to do my thing because I know better.
It has a very battle royale kind of energy, this card. Like only one can win, but there's like a lot of competitors. And it also has this energy of that you're doing something or trying out something that you're very good at. Like Leo, like something where you actually like feel you're shining, you're very good at, sun. But you're also simultaneously being judged by for it. And that's the Saturnian energy that we're getting here. So being able to have the courage that you need to step into the light and actually show what you can do, like this courage, but then also being able to, or failing to, be judged under the harsh light and critiques of others. And then maybe not getting the role, right? So if you're one of those 5 actors and you're competing, you might not be the one winning in the end, right? But you want to.
But it pushes you.
Yes.
To kind of go above and beyond for what you might actually think that you can. So it's like, I can do this, but then you get pushed a little bit further. So it's that kind of aggressiveness to not aggressiveness necessarily to kill somebody, but aggressiveness to like push yourself further.
Like, I mean, Leo is very much about finding or creating a personality that others can see that is mostly in congruence with what you yourself believe you are, right? Which is also this whole thing about, like the sun, right? The sun representing both the personality that you show to the world or that you want to be, that you want to see the world, what you are. But the sun also represents that inner power, who you actually are, and that inner flame, I mean, Aries tries to find out who it is, I guess, and Leo knows who it is, but now Leo wants to be, okay, I am this, how do I represent myself in a way to the world that agrees with what I think I am? And I think this is a very big thing for not just for Leo people, I mean for everybody, right? But just this thing of like, who am I? And who do I think I am, and how do I represent myself to others? So that's something that is a thing for everybody. And depending on where you are in life, yes, it's a more important or a less important thing. It's gotten very much more important for me in the past 2 years to represent myself more like the way that I think I myself am, rather than what people think, and try and make it the same, because if I'm already the crazy bitch, then I should look like it, so I'm like,
maybe that's what you're striving for. You're striving to be the crazy bitch,
yeah, just dancing out on the street in the rain, and that is my little thoughts on the Decan. Thoughts, not my thoughts, I'm just repeating what I know. It's not originating from me. Not that.
I was looking at some of the color scales, and obviously the orange, the Golden Dawn deck that you had, Amelie, that makes complete sense, because I think orange, it's the Aziluthian color of Geborah, whether scarlet or red, it's the Briapple color. So obviously you have both of those. For the green, I'm trying to wrap my head around it, but the challenge will always be my color blindness to an extent, because Leo, or rather strength, or rather lust, its Aziluthian color is called greenish yellow. So it's not green, it's not yellow, it's greenish yellow. I'm looking at the hue of the color scale in front of me. It doesn't match the hue of the card that Amelie just showed us, but again, that could be my eyes having issues.
But it matches the Smith colors, actually, when I look at it. So in the Smith, we're having, I mean, there's so many colors going on, so it's kind of like really representative, again, like how everybody's just different. Like there's one guy in orange, one guy in some yellow, green, one guy in like whitish with blue pricks on, one with green, another one with like black, green, blue something. And their shoes are all different colors as well. The leggings are both in some greenish yellow and in red. So yeah, reds and greens, or like this greenish yellow, is quite well represented here in the Smith deck, and in the Smith version, actually, I find. I mean, the wands are always the wands colors in her depiction, but then what the people are wearing is quite, according to that scale, with the reds that we're having, or the orange, and then there's greenish yellow. Even the ground has like a kind of a greenish yellow, and here is like more like red, as if they'd been trampling on this grass forever and it's starting to die.
Yeah, so
the burnt it dry.
Interesting.
Yes.
It's always interesting to look at how the Golden Dawn color scales influenced the artists of obviously Pixie and Frida Harris, and all of the other amazing individuals that followed, or that came before, whichever. But yeah, it's always interesting to see how that magical system was always applied to the creation of a tarot deck.
Yeah. I mean, in the South, we're much more in the yellow. It's much... Well, I was going to say more in the foreground, but it's literally the background of the card. But there's a lot of yellow in this. And then we're having two of the staves, let's call it, staffs.
Yeah.
In red, and then two, and the middle one in like more of a metallish blue-green.
The yellow background, if you look at the back of your top deck card, you should have the cross, isn't it? So
yes.
If you look at not the first ring, not the second ring, but the third ring of petals. Yeah. So
there's
the yellow petal over there that you were almost tapping upon. Yeah, that one. So those two yellow, one of them represents Mercury, the second ring, the internal second ring, that would be Mercury. And the one next to it on the further out ring, the third one, that would be Leo. Yellow being one of the colors of Leo.
Right. Yeah. We've not touched upon this ever in our episodes, and I guess we don't have to go too deep into it. But the three rings, right? So the outer one is 12. That's representative for the zodiac signs, and then the middle ring is 7, I say, representing the planets or the planetary bodies. And then we have 3 there, which are the 3 alchemical elements, or the 3, well, I guess both the alchemical elements and like water, fire, and air, right?
Yeah, it can be. I think the way that I look at it sometimes, 3 petals of the rose being
these are the elements.
Yeah. So to me, the 3 petals at the center, like outside of the cross, that will be the elements themselves. But the alchemical elements will be represented, to me at least, the way that I process it in my mind and heart, by the arms of the cross itself.
Right. Yes, because you also have...
Because you will have also the inclusion of earth and ether, being the darkened one and the white arm. But you can easily interchange them. I mean, certain people will come and please don't shoot, will come and curse at us, being like, how dare you say that? But we exes, but we're just exploring this with an open mind, with an open heart.
Always. So what are your experiences or feelings? What do you feel about this card? Like, how do you, in like when we talked about the symbolism, we talked about the decans. Now from a perspective of actually doing oracle work or whatever we call it. What is it for you?
I think that's an aspect. So we tend to throw, forgive me the term, but we tend to throw the word transformation fairly frequently and fairly easily. But I say that with partial passion and compassion, because I think transformation is at the root of what we're doing in magic, in witchcraft, in crafts altogether. If you think about it, even as a human being, you're born a baby, then you grow into a child, and then you further grow into a teenager and an adult and an older person and whatnot. Constantly phases of change and or transformation. So that was just a disclaimer to say, transformation is everywhere. It's all about transformation. Additionally, transformation, I find, it's an inherent quality of the 5s, Kabbalistically speaking, belonging to Geborah. But if I can go even further, if possible, if allowed, I will apply the theme of transformation, particularly to the 501s, for more than one reason. But the main reason is being the first decan of Leo. And we know that Leo is either the sun as in S-O-N, or the father of the zodiac, because you can see, so I look at them as both, basically Leo being the father of the zodiac, father because all of the other signs are ruled, all of the other planets rule 2 signs, and yet there is only 2 planets ruling 1 sign. Planets, forgive me the term again, because we have the luminaries, the sun and the moon and the sun not technically being planets in scientific terms, but we'll use that.
We've covered that. It's okay.
Exactly.
Planetary bodies, astrologically speaking. Yeah.
Precisely. So we have the sun ruling Leo and moon ruling Cancer. So that could be an example or an image or a metaphor of the father and the mother. However, we can look as the signs as the children of the luminaries. So Leo, the son, S-O-N, of the father of the sun, S-U-N, and Cancer as the daughter of the mother, aka the moon. So we got this rulership, which is very important, like the rulership of the sun, the source of all life. And yet, in this decan, we have the decanic rulership of Saturn, which represents the opposite side of the spectrum. So if the sun is life, Saturn is death.
Yes,
and when I
quite
see
cold
that
as well. Very cold planet. Yeah, it's very opposite.
In alchemical terms, I see that as the ring or the platform of the most deepest, that's not even grammar, the deepest forms of transformation and transmutation and opportunity to change and transcend. So that's why, I think this decanic rulership of Saturn in the energy of Leo, as well as you can say that about every other 5, but particularly in this decan, particularly in this card, it's a great opportunity, again, to transform. Like the wheel of Leo, which is infinite, undominable, now being, I don't know, tamed, maybe not tamed, maybe taught by the archaic, primordial wisdom, or rather understanding of Saturn.
That's very interesting. I've actually never thought of it that way with Moon and Sun, or like with Cancer and Leo being like father and mother of the zodiac, the universe. That was very interesting. Thank you for that input. And when you just to jump, because we'd always jump, but 2 thoughts that I had. I mean, you're talking a lot about transformation and transmutation, and we're having that again then in the 3rd fire sign with Sagittarius. Which is where we're having the art card, and there's like the topmost alchemical processes, or we also have like a lion in the card itself. But forgive me, I don't have it here. There's a lion right here trying to get in front of the screen.
I can hear the meow.
Meow. Please don't cheat over my cards, baby.
Too adorable.
Yes, there we got our not Zoom call, but our Zoom call.
Our session.
It's okay.
It happens. It
they
happens.
want to participate.
But this was, this was just me talking about or mentioning the art or the transformational process with the art card, which we're having in Sagittarius, where we go fire, where we're having the transmutational. Awesome. Yes, the transmutational.
Yes.
Fire. But then also you talking about the lion being tamed, and then that obviously then brings out the strength card, or the, more so than the last card, but the strength card, which is representative for Leo, where we're having this lion being, well, there's different interpretations, right? There's interpretations that the lion, the wild thing, the ultimate untamable wild thing, is being tamed by a woman, or there was other ones. Maybe she's just like, petting him. No,
if you look at the maiden, because there's, I think it might have been Waite that said that, but basically the maiden can count as, in the Smith deck at least in particular, can count as a foreshadow of the following season being Virgo being the maiden of the zodiac. But ultimately, because of our 5 of Wands conversation right now, and the Decanic rulership of Saturn, the maiden can also be a symbol for Binah, or the symbol for the divine feminine, again coming into place in the Decanic forces of the 5 of Wands, for example. So I don't know, because the term taming can have multiple interpretations, and I'm a bit of a libertine and bohemian myself. So when I hear the word, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. But I'd rather look at it as a learning process, because Leo is born with this natural charisma and self-confidence and courage, and like the element of fire, like clearly like the charm of the flame, but the flame is also dangerous. Don't touch, look, but don't touch, or learn how to touch it without getting burned, like the fire whispers and whatnot. But again, Binah, or the maiden, or the divine feminine, or Saturn coming over from above, from below, everywhere, all at once, and teaching, and divulging, or simply sharing new perspectives, new views, new secrets, new mysteries, and all for it to lead to the 6 of Wands, to the victory over strife, to the victory over the current stage.
I find, like, for me, the difference between like the Lust card and the 5 of Wands is that the Lust card is like, it contains it, but the 5 of Wands, it feels like it's just getting out. It's just getting worse and worse, the friction, and there's no stopping, just letting it out. If anyone gets killed, who cares? I'm going to let it out.
Merciless.
Bit like that. Bit merciless-ish, I guess. It's kind of like last one standing, like you said, the victory. There can only be one person that wins, right? So you have to fight for your life, like they say sometimes. Is that friction? I always like this is what this card for me is, just a lot of friction. And when you rub like 2 sticks together, you get the fire. So this is like the moment when you have to rub the sticks together to get to the fire.
Maybe
and
get
then
some
after that
splinters on
comes
the way.
Yeah, exactly. But that doesn't matter. You just have to get to the fire. If you contain that, you're not supposed to contain it. It has to go wild. You have to go like a little bit too far. Once you have the fire, you can start containing it. But before you actually like get there, you need to just give ruthless.
Absolutely.
I was reading about the the lion because I said it was drunk, right? It just made me giggle because it actually says it's demented.
Wow. A demented lion. What does it say about both?
So one of them is fierce and the other one is demented, which indicates the strife.
Right. A fierce and a demented lion.
A fierce and
Yeah.
a demented lion. I thought that's pretty funny and cool at the same time.
And the crocodiles at the
Yeah, there's
bottom.
crocodile.
Yeah.
That's, and then we have the snakes up here. So we have snakes,
Serpent.
lions, serpents, lions, and crocodiles. Do you have to be either fierce or demented in order to struggle and strive? I guess you have to either have like the courage and, well, the fierceness to go and rah, or you just have to be stupid in order to throw yourself into something, right? Courageousness or stupidity? In more modern words than fierce and demented, I guess. Being
The eternal
courageous
paradox.
or stupid.
It depends where you get your. I mean, I guess like if you're fierce, you just go for it. But I think the demented one has equally as much chance to win because he's just like all loopy and demented and crazy. He don't care.
No, that's right. We know that there's a strength in being stupid or demented.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, there's a big strength in that.
I guess it's the not knowing, or I guess if you're like too intelligent, you wouldn't go into a fight like this because you might die. So you wouldn't be able to have the fierceness of this lion because you just
Again,
like if you just this is like even if the fierceness of the lion doesn't mean that he's like super intelligent, because if he was super intelligent he would probably run away from the situation, but he's just so fierce and so like cool and like above everything because obviously he's a lion, Leo. So he just goes right in because he knows he's the best. Just knows he's the best.
We have a similar thing that we can put on the strength card again, because also like who goes and touches a lion? You're either extremely fierce or you're demented.
Yeah.
Right?
Good point.
So the lion is fierce and she's demented, basically.
Well, I wouldn't, that paints the image in a very different light, and I very much like this lady. But I like
That's
this
what
lady
I'm here
even
for,
more.
to paint a different light.
Yes, I like this lady even more. Shall we talk a little bit about the last card, or we should probably talk about the last card a little more than a little bit?
Yeah.
We will also cover the mages though, so we can cover them a bit more in detail. But this is like one of the cases where we're having very different energies between the Smith and the Thoth deck in the mages. Although the images in themselves are not, if you're putting them very far away, then you have similar images, but there's a lot more going on here. So this was one of the cards, I think, as far as I know, why this deck got banned for a long time. Because, I mean, naked women and naked women riding beasts. So this was one of this is obviously very sensual card visually. So we can't have that in the bookstores. We cannot sell this. The children cannot look upon this. Bad, right? But it's such a sacred energy. So this is just me rolling off of it, right? Wait, show this again. Did you show us one?
I found the Golden Dawn one, which is quite
again as the red
interesting.
and green.
Yes, we have the green line and the red line. Interesting.
Green lion, red lion is
and blue waters.
And I think unless my vision could be failing me, but it feels like the tail of the lion, as again, it's a serpent.
Snake. Yes, it looks like a serpent. So
it is.
Yes.
It is a snake. Yeah.
So we all agree on that. We're having lions with serpent tails or lionesque creatures. So this creature, the beast, doesn't really look as much as a lion as the other. We're having faces of men and beasts here. And the Lady Babylon herself, deity of Thelema, is riding the beast and steering the beast, and she's just leaning back and, let's say, enjoying life. She's just the ultimate yes woman. And there's not so much, oh, I shall tame you, or oh, wisdom or whatever. Like in this card, it's very still, and there's like this kind of quiet sacredness to it. Passive is not the right word, but this is like very just like still, quiet. And this is just all like mid-orgasm, I suppose.
You can sense the chaos from the image.
Chaos.
I said this to Joe as well ages ago in the beginning, and it's completely like I shouldn't think like this, but honestly it looks like she's like trying to squeeze a spot. Like it looks like you know how you have these pictures of skin, layers of skin, and it literally looks like there's a spot that she's trying to squeeze, because then you have like all these serpents as well. And it's just like, I know you're not supposed to think about things like this when you're looking at tarot cards, but this is like,
also
my brain goes there.
Yeah.
An additional layer to the great mysteries of the last card.
I know I'm very terrible at just making things be less beautiful.
Or is that a gift? Because that could be a very much of a skill.
I'm not sure about that. I'm definitely not a poet.
Yet.
I find it like these squashed people in the background here as well. And like, I don't know. This card just gives me the heebie-jeebies sometimes.
Really?
Sometimes, yeah. I don't know. It's
so
very
you would have
weird.
loved that card.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would think that. I don't know. Like I said, I honestly feel like it just looks like the insides, like layers of your skin, like skin layers, but also it kind of looks like your intestines somehow. I just don't know why. I don't know why I feel like it just feels like your insides. Which is
it's quite, I mean, yeah, it is a weird card if you look at it. It's very weird. I just find it very beautiful in its multiplicity, the right word, but there's just so many things that are happening in it, and symbolic wise. And we should do this when we actually cover the last card, not when we're going into the Five of Wands. But anyway, the Lady in Babylon. Yes.
I think she's a great, we can go back to her when we explore the actual major, but she's a great representation of the whole principle of do what thou will shall be the whole of the law.
Yes.
I think she basically embodies that to too many extents. But the will. 93 everyone, for whoever is listening.
And also so many snakes in this card. But no, yeah, let's go away from it. Otherwise we'll spend like the next half hour.
We'll be charmed by her beauty forever and ever. Yeah, another thing that I wanted to point out, because I mentioned in preparation for our recording session, isn't it? Like the one Kabbalistic essence of the Five of Wands. So we talked about like length, I suppose, this whole influence of Saturn over Leo. And I think what's interesting, obviously, we are in the fives, we are in Gevora, Saturn being the planetary energy that rules over Binah. So we have a very clear depiction, in a way, in the Five of Wands of the path between Binah and Gevora, so the path between understanding and strength, which obviously it's occupied by the Chariot card, not by the last card or the Strength card. However, the esoteric name or title of the Chariot is Child of, which I believe it's Child of the Powers of the Waters. Lady, obviously lords, but not for me, mates. Lady of the Triumph of Light. The triumph of light we can explore, but light, again, the light of the sun. But child, and again, we talked about my personal view of Leo in terms of in the role of a child. But additionally, the fifth house, which is ruled by the energy or influenced by the energy of Leo, and it is the house of children. It is the house of pleasures and fun and play and exploring and total freedom. So I think again there is an element of education. You know how like children bless their hearts and their purity, but like I remember when I was little, first of all my mom dropping me off in nursery, traumatized. What are you doing? Why are you leaving me here? What are these people trying to tell me? Why are they boring me with these notions that I don't care about? And even further on in education, when you're like, please, when is the day over? So like an example of the discipline that Saturn requires in the realm, but the number 5. Number 5 is Gevora, yes, but the number 5 as the 5th house, perhaps even. What happens when pleasure, being one of the qualities of the 5th house, meets discipline, meets teaching, aka the qualities of Saturn? And I think that's very much depicted in the path, or one of the many things that one can learn in the path between Bina and Gevora. Like you learn to understand, you develop your strength in very basic terms, because those are the titles of the Sephiroth ruling or influencing that path. And again, the chariot, even though it's not Leo, being an archetype and a major of strengthening your own will, and acting your own will upon the forces of the universe and life itself. So I know that it's not a perfect theory and or principle, but when I play with it fluidly, freely, like the 5th house will demand, I have a good time with it.
I think it makes a lot of sense when you look at the Smith deck. I know that I have
like 5 children.
Yeah. If you think that these people are children or teenagers, it's almost like, when men reach their manhood and they kind of have to be rough and they have to, learn to hunt and to defend the village and their woman and whatever you do when you're a man back in the day. We need those men back, but okay. But this is what it reminds me of. And I know that I have a deck that does actually have children. I wonder if it's I don't remember how to pronounce it again. I know, Luigi, you told me the Terra Volatile. Is that
Terra
correct?
Volatile.
I think that deck has 2 different 5s, and one of them is like kids.
Children.
So that makes a lot of sense when you say, children and learning. This is a skill. This is like, something that you kind of have to do. So it makes a lot of sense.
I was just going to say that the different interpretations for the 5 of Wands in the Smith depiction is that it could be like people actually struggling, or it could also just be like this play fight. That people are just having fun. It's just like, bah, 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 bah. And that's how you learn to fight as well. If you're a child in any species, right? If you're a human being or a cat or a dog or a horse even. Mostly predators, but you learn when you're a child, you learn how to fight with their play fight with others. And that, yes, predators, I suppose, because you're learning how to hunt and how to kill something when you get older. But it's also just like, if you depict a bunch of kittens, like 5 kittens just all be, but yeah, play fighting for the real thing.
Baby lions, little cubs.
Absolutely.
Fighting so they can be the king lion when they grow
just
up.
Just the image of it, I'm like, oh cute. Something that I just picked up on, only because you guys were holding it like that. If you hold the Smith 5 of Wands, you don't have to, but just because you did, there's like, thank you so much. Basically, there's like an optical trick of the mind or the eyes that creates 3 sets of 5s. So there's the 2 wands meeting like that, creating kind of a V. V being the Roman value of 5.
Right.
And then next to it, it's the other, so, and then next to it, the other way around, it goes up here. Yeah.
V here. And
exactly. And then we have the, So what happens, the reason why I'm pointing it out is because, so if you do 5 plus 5 plus 5, you get the number 15, which is a number of Saturn. But if because we are the nerds and the geeks and the Occultinarium voices that we are, if you go even further and take the number 5, which is the 5th major, Hierophant or the Sage, long into the Vav, being a value of 6, you will get 18, which would be 2 things. 18 can be reduced to 9, and 9 is another number of Saturn, one of the many numbers of Saturn, but 18 is also the value of the word life in Hebrew, and that could connect to the beginning of the year, for the Kemetic, I hope I'm pronouncing it well, Kemetic as in the Egyptian tradition, this will be the beginning of the astrological beginning of the year, the flooding of the Nile, like we mentioned at the beginning and in the previous episode. So that could be, the flooding of the Nile had to do with agriculture and by extension to do with life, like sustaining life. So I'm not going anywhere necessarily useful with this. But as you were holding the cards up, my ADHD brain and mind and heart just went there. Just went like, I wonder whether.
I get it. I get it. I still wonder about the constellation. I mean, we can probably bring it back when we get to the 10 of Wands and the 10 of Swords, but just this realization that I had earlier that we're having the rulership of Saturn and Sun, and we're having the same combination in two further placements or two more placements, and that being the 10 of Wands and the 10 of Swords, just the other way around. But it's like that struck me as interesting. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I mean, both the 10 of Swords and the 10 of Wands being 10s, also the double number of the 5, but also being like the last, and often cards that are often more, oppressive as the 10 of Wands, or ruinous cards that, where the strife or the struggle that you're in those, decans is a lot more real and a lot more devastating, maybe, or I would say devastating, or also actually triggering forth that transformation you were talking earlier. It's like after the 10, it's just the end and you start again, right? Well, in the 5, you're still in the middle of like a whole development of something.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. This
And
was not
as
a
well-
finished thought. It's just like something.
No, but
yeah.
it really takes you places, because I'm trying to think as well with the Sun ruling the last decan of Gemini, like you said, and Saturn ruling the last decan of Sagittarius. I think in astrology, and I don't know if it's, I don't know whether it's modern or traditional astrology, and I don't know whether or not it's law, but I think, not in traditional astrology, not all the signs have an exaltation, for example, and in traditional astrology, that is. And I think the exaltation, if you want to call it that, of Gemini and Sagittarius is the dragon's head and the dragon's tail. So dragon's head for Gemini and dragon's tail for Sagittarius.
That is correct.
And another way that you can, again, please stay with us, everyone. Don't drown just yet. But another way that you can look at it is the head being the Sun and the tail being Saturn, isn't it? AKA the planetary rulers of those individual decans. Something to ponder on.
A lot to ponder on. I'm like,
A lot to ponder on. Remember how at the beginning we were also like, I don't know, what are we going to say about the 5 of Wands? We don't really work with this card a lot. And then here we are. 50 minutes later.
Tails. Yeah, we just went off.
I shouldn't be working with these cards a lot because when we were doing the life path thing ages ago, I think when we were doing that in our tarot
group, yeah.
In a group, that's my life path is the 5. And then I understood why my life is so severe. So I should really be working with the 5s, but I try not to because they're always daunting. I think everyone
recently, not to bring up terrible memories, but recently you've been working a lot with the 5 of Cups, isn't it?
Yes. That was for a whole month. That was fun. That was fun. I wonder what the next month will bring.
Exciting. Wow. All right. Well, thank you guys for another tarot session.
Thank you.
It was enlightening. A lot of thoughts have been triggered on my part. Thanks for geeking out, Luigi. That was amazing. So yeah, that concludes this episode. We actually recorded on the 26th of July, and Decan is from the 22nd of July until the 1st of August, where we're having Lamnas/Lunaset, which we will also shall cover in an episode. So stay tuned or check it out. Like, subscribe, comment below, and see you in the next wormhole. Blessed be.
Bye.
Bye.
Blessed be.
We are the voices of the Occultinarium. Welcome to the rabbit holes.